welcome back to SHELeads India, the podcast where we bring you inspiring conversations with women who are not just building careers, but actually shaping futures. And today's guest is someone who has spent years empowering young minds to think differently, dream bigger, and create meaningful impact. She's an educator, an innovator, a mentor, entrepreneur at heart, and the head of the Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce. So please join me in welcoming the wonderful Professor Sharayu.
Thank
Hi,
you.
welcome
Thank you.
today.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you, Dipti.
Thank you. Dr. Sharayu, we're so
I
excited to have you
loved
with
your
us today.
introduction. Loved your introduction.
Thank you. It's you. We loved what you are doing, and
Thank
that's
you so
why
much.
we are here.
Thank
Yes.
you so
And
much.
who are we? Just to give you a very quick recap for those who are joining for the first time. We are She Leads India. We are a learning platform for women entrepreneurs where we teach them digital marketing and AI in such a way that it simplifies it all and reduces the overwhelm that we sometimes get. And the idea is to help these women entrepreneurs to get their jobs done online and grow and scale their businesses. And we do have some new things happening here. So we have 90 days courses for digital marketing and AI. So if you want to take things further, we have twice weekly visibility labs for on site, there and then content creation, and a brand new master trainer program coming very soon. Okay, now before we dive into entrepreneurship and innovation, let's start with something fun. If your students, Dr. Sharayu, if your students had to describe you in just 3 words, what do you think they would say?
I think they will look at me and describe me as compassionate and empathetic,
Lovely.
knowledgeable,
Yes.
and I think they admire me more for the fact that I'm a go-getter.
Uh-huh.
So
Somebody to look up to for sure.
yes, yes,
I
yes, yes,
love that. I
yes,
love that.
yes.
I love all three, and and then the way you immediately started with the compassion and empathy part.
Right.
I know I understand that you have you work with and have worked with thousands and thousands of students, correct?
Yes. It's almost 25 years of experience which I have with students.
Yes,
And therefore you can imagine the number of students who I'm connected to,
yes,
in spite of the present students. Along with them, there's a huge number of students who graduated across the world, and some of them started their own business, some of them are at really good
wow,
positions in various organizations, some of them are a part of family businesses. So it's a very, very proud moment, and a proud experience for me to share, that my students are there everywhere.
yes. Actually, yourself, your work is like imbibed all across. You've planted seeds. That's what I was trying to say. You've
Yes, sure.
planted lots and lots of seeds.
Yes, true,
And
true.
that's true because you spent so many years shaping these minds. What drew you, or what first drew you to entrepreneurship in that sense? Entrepreneurship and innovation as a career focus.
So when I started my career, actually, my focus was teaching and making them understand, imparting subject knowledge. But over the
Correct.
time, I realized that that is not enough. It's important that they build skills. But I also realized that even skill building is not enough. So skill building can take them to take up a job somewhere, get placed somewhere, but they have to go beyond that. And I saw that there's a spark in every student,
Hmm.
there's a potential in every student to be a job creator, right? So
Yes.
you want to become a job seeker, okay, but you're not average, right? You have a huge amount of potential, you can create jobs. So let the average one do the work of being a job seeker. You are a extraordinary individual. You have huge amount of potential. So go ahead and be a job creator. And
I
that is
love
what
it.
drew me to entrepreneurship. So why not? I found that gap, and then why not fill that gap and work in that space of building entrepreneurial minds, encouraging students to become entrepreneurs, take up entrepreneurship as their profession, as their life goal, as their career goal. And that's how entrepreneurship became the purpose of my life. I thought students have the potential to become job creators.
I love that. Job seekers to job creators. That really defines the crux of what you are doing and what we are looking for actually for She Leads India and the women entrepreneurs that interact with us.
So, especially this gap I identified when I joined Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce, and I realized, the same thing which I said earlier, that these students are there with a lot of potential, and let me
Mm.
just work on building an entrepreneurial mindset. If they can start their businesses now. If not possible now, then maybe somewhere down the line they will think of becoming job creators, because we are in a developing economy, and we
Mhm.
need entrepreneurs. And that is what has always struck with me. Also the fact that I have always exposed myself to a lot of industrial knowledge or industrial ecosystem. So
Mm.
part of various associations, like I was very much involved in MCCIA, and then the CII, and Pune
Yes.
International Center, all of these, then I could see that there are entrepreneurs, who are actually building something, creating something, solving problems. So why can't my students do that? So that is
Yeah.
actually led me to start the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship in my college. And since then, that has been the focus of my purpose. I mean, of my work.
Wow. I'll just go back to when you said the word mindset,
Hmm.
because I think it's so important. It's a really good point because, like, many people assume that entrepreneurship starts with a business idea.
Right.
Okay. When it often starts with the mindset, and what you're doing is creating or helping, encouraging that mindset at a much younger age, which is superb. You can see the spark, and then you groom them at a much younger age, which is
True,
what this country needs. The opportunities are huge,
true, true.
huge. Yeah, absolutely.
So
And
there's a very
yeah,
beautiful TED talk,
huh.
by Dr. Shashi Tharoor. The TED talk is a well-educated mind versus a well-formed mind. And I think every
Hmm.
parent also should see it. Not only youngsters, or not only the young individuals or students, but mainly parents should see this talk, because it's not about educating your child to make fill his mind with knowledge and with facts. It's
Yep.
about actually developing his mind to be more creative, more innovative, with a problem solving approach. And that is what he
Yes.
talks about in his talk, I know. So it's a fantastic TED talk by Dr. Shashi Tharoor.
Yes, yes, I do remember that. And it's all about holistic learning, like you're saying, all these different elements apart from your exams and your grades,
Right.
and developing that whole 360 degree, because entrepreneurs need that full 360 degree type of lifelong learning.
Right, right, right. So
Yes.
this is already actually happening in a lot of other countries, where you go to
Hmm.
Japan, you go to European countries, it's already happening. Even China now, they have been focusing on developing an entrepreneurial mindset right from school, because they
Yes.
want their the citizens to go ahead and become entrepreneurs and be entrepreneurs. But in India, it's inculcating slowly. Now we've realized that it's not only at the college level or after 18 years, that
Hmm.
the child has to think about becoming an entrepreneur. Right from school itself, the child should think about becoming an entrepreneur. So developing an entrepreneurial mind, becomes necessary right from school. So efforts are being taken now. I'm sure a lot of schools are taking that effort. The government is taking
Absolutely.
that effort. With I'm not very sure whether you've heard about this. There's something called as Atal Tinkering Labs. Which all schools are expected to have, so that they're able to
Mhm.
experiment there. They're able to do something with hands and work with hands and do some hands-on projects, so that they're able to think in a different way.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's powerful. And along with entrepreneurship, today we hear the word innovation everywhere, right?
True.
But innovation also means very different things to different people.
True. Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed. So innovation to me means you look at a problem, and try to, develop a solution or create a solution or give a solution to that problem. A problem which may be, it could be in the health sector, in the education sector,
Yeah.
around us, in the infrastructure. So you look at a problem and try to develop certain solutions, which are useful to the society, and which can be there to
Yeah.
solve that. So that is innovation for me. You do something which is useful to the society. You take up a problem, you solve it, and then that can be of use to the society.
Yes. Yes.
So that is
Absolutely.
innovation for me.
So if we talk about, so you've had your full experiences with students, and if we switch the gear a little bit and talk about women who have started their businesses or want to start their business and don't know where to begin, right? What would be your first piece of advice?
I would suggest that look around you. Be observant. Observation is an
Hmm.
important skill again. So to develop an entrepreneurial mindset, I think observation skill is also required. So
Hmm.
observe and see where there's a need, where there is a gap,
This
right?
is
Is
the
there a need?
main thing.
Is there a need? Is there a gap? And if there is a need and if there is a gap, then try to fill it either with a product which can be of help to the consumer or to the user, or a service which can be of help. But observation is important. So try to see that what is it, that what problem can you solve, what gap can you fill, what need can you satisfy. Even today, what want or desire you can satisfy. And
Yes.
accordingly, yes, because today now we've gone beyond the needs. Also needs are there, but we've gone beyond that, so we have wants also which
True.
to be satisfied. So
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. The needs are these days mostly there. It's the
so
wants that need
cosmetics
satisfying.
cosmetics is a want, right? Cosmetics is a want, it's not a need.
Yes, yes.
So can you get into the business? So we can see a lot of a lot of entrepreneurs getting into the business of organic or skincare products,
Mhm.
right? So skincare has now not remained a need. It's not now remained a want. It has become a need, but initially it is a want. So look around you and see where is it and what is it that you can do.
Yes,
One
absolutely.
more piece of advice which I also tell my students, that if there is something which strikes your mind and you really want to go ahead and do it, you just jump, take it up, don't think. Because
Ah, this is the
over
piece of advice. Yes.
if you overthink, array, I need to talk to this person, I need to talk to this person, I don't know, I'm confused, I'm not very sure whether I really want to do it. But heart mein to aapko, you want to do it in your heart, so just take a jump at it, plunge. Have you learned swimming?
Wonderful.
So if you have learned swimming, I remember when as a child I learned swimming. You know how? Because my father used to push me in the well, and so I didn't have a coach or something like that. But when I've jumped and I've already in the water, I have to struggle to survive. So
Yes,
that is how
yes.
it.
Yeah, so many women have brilliant ideas. The two things I wanted to say was there's a huge difference between the market need or gap and the brilliant ideas
Exactly.
sometimes. And and after that, they once have those two have been aligned,
Mm.
they still hesitate to take the first step just because of most of the time imposter syndrome is where they just think, am I good enough? Will it work? What will people say? And all of these things go on in the mind. So we go back all the way to mindset again, which is very, very important.
That's why that mindset is important. And what
Yes.
I've realized over the years that that mindset is required not only to start a business, but even to work in an organization. So when I talk
Right.
to a lot of people from the corporate sector, and when I ask them what is it that you look at, when you are actually employing a candidate, so they look at the problem solving ability, the critical thinking, the
Hmm.
way does that particular candidate have a different way of thinking. So that those are the qualities now. So that those are all qualities which imbibe or which make an entrepreneurial mind. And they
Yes.
want people, they want candidates who have an entrepreneurial mindset.
Agreed. Agreed.
So it helps you not only to start your own business, but it also helps you to get a job, easily.
Of course.
I mean, you are, you are one level up, or one level higher than your peers when it comes to taking up a job.
Yes, yes. As you said earlier, there's knowledge, there's skills, but the mindset is the one that really carries you over that
And
hill
again,
or mountain sometimes.
since I'm talking to you now and we are live, I would really want parents also to understand this. And I think a lot of women audience here would be parents. Though they are
Yes,
women entrepreneurs. That try emphasize on building an entrepreneurial mindset for your child right from school.
yes. Not just rote learning, but thinking outside the box,
Yes, very important.
solving problems
Yes,
for others. This is what we need.
true.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're talking about the future, like what the needs are of the future, and we can't talk about the future without talking about AI.
Hmm.
So obviously, some people get excited by it, and some people are absolutely terrified by it,
Apprehensive.
and most are just confused.
Hmm.
So, what do you think?
So
Do you
what
have?
I feel, see, if I'm talking to women entrepreneurs who are watching us,
Hmm.
I feel, start simple. I mean, you don't have to be overwhelmed by the fact that there are so many AI agents and so many AI tools, and what should I be doing? I don't know. First is that break that mind barrier and start
Yes.
simple. Start with ChatGPT. Start by maybe drafting a message, or translating a message, or drafting a proposal. So start small. I mean, I'm very sure a lot of women don't even have chat gpt application on their phone. I think we should have that application on the phone, so immediately some things could be done there. And then
Yes.
they could go to higher levels, but start simple. So once you start simple, you're able to break that barrier and have,
Correct.
yeah, get that confidence to move ahead.
Yes.
Because
And
I feel that in fact AI is one of the most easiest technology as of now which has come.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, it's not that rocket science. Earlier, whatever we've learned earlier has been rocket science. I mean, I
Yes.
remember we used to be going to learn Excel and PowerPoint, how to prepare when when we were in college. I mean,
Yes.
no, after that, sorry. So MS Office was actually very challenging to learn at that particular time. But
Hmm.
AI is very easy, and I mean, it's if you actually take it up, it's not that difficult.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And most of the women who do get intimidated by it are the ones who went to school before all this was even taught at
True,
school,
true,
the
true.
Excel and what you said, Word and PowerPoint. So they kind of like missed out on that. And nowadays, the new generation are just, they're born with it. So it's not a problem, And people like you and I, we have that in between phase.
True, true.
I
Yes, yes.
think. At least I do. I can't speak for you,
No,
sorry. But I have that in between phase.
we have open minds. We have minds to
Yes.
learn. Yeah, so we are able to
Yes.
maybe learn
At
faster.
least, at
Yeah,
least we have that foundation.
yeah.
So a
We
lot
have
of women don't have that
we have the
foundation.
foundation. True.
But what you were saying, which I want to go back to, which is really, really important, that what how you use it now is just so much easier than anything before. And it literally, it's like talking to someone on a phone. You don't even have to type.
True.
You just
True.
talk to them.
That's why it is advisable that they actually have an app on their phone. So they
Yes.
can sit and try out and experiment, and then from there then they could go ahead to Claude and so many other Perplexity and whatever Gemini, but start with ChatGPT, the easiest as of
Yes.
now. Of course, ChatGPT also can do 100 other things, but you can start simple.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And so that would be one of the three skills I was going to ask you. What three skills every aspiring woman entrepreneur should focus on developing? So one would be this.
So what
Okay.
I've made, I thought about this, and I think
Mhm.
first important is of course learning technology. So when you're
Yes.
saying technology, it's not only AI. AI is there, but of course Microsoft Office also they should be able to operate. I mean, you
Yes.
cannot depend always on the any third person. So no Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. I mean, they have to be well versed with that. They should also be able to operate their social media. So for example,
Yes.
LinkedIn and Instagram, because they are business women, and today social commerce is growing in the sense that everything is on social media. Your own
Yes.
presence is on social media, so they can do that. And the third thing, of course, as we discussed, was AI in the technology space. The
Correct.
second important thing which I feel is communication. So if you
Yeah.
are, I feel your communication has to be really really good. If you really want to be a good business woman. So it
Yes.
could be, so you may not know English, you are good at Marathi, perfectly fine.
Correct.
म्हणजे
Absolutely. It doesn't matter.
येस, तुमचं मराठी सुद्धा तुम्हाला व्यवस्थित बोलता आलं पाहिजे. So you should
Oh,
be able to talk that language, which is convincing to the customers, to the vendors. So communication is important, because for that you cannot depend on anybody else. And third
absolutely.
important thing I feel is develop a strong network, because you need networking skills. You cannot work as a businesswoman in a shell, कि मैं मेरे घर से ही बिजनेस कर रही हूँ तो मुझे क्या जरूरत है बाहर जाने की. ऐसे नहीं है. You need to network, so be with forums where women are there. Be in the market, be there, so be there where you can, so I think
Women more so.
more.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes men do say, "What about us? You're only talking about women. You're only what about us?" But
So
no,
we are
we
on
are
SHELeads
focusing
platform.
on women right now. Yes. Good. Excellent. And I love when you went back to social media and we talk about digital marketing, the way we communicate through networking and all of what you said just binds in together because how you are seen online has to match with how you are seen offline and everything has to gel. There should
True,
be no huge differences
true.
between the two. And
All also about stories.
yes,
So if
exactly.
that person has a service or a product to sell, but what is her story behind that? So that's important, that people would like. So people are more touched with this particular aspect, that is key story hai. So I'm sure the product must be good, the service must be really nice, because she has a story here, and that
You have
story can be conveyed through social media.
yes, you get authenticity, you build trust, sorry, you build your relationships. And when you're talking about that networking part, I mean, offline is brilliant, but that online networking also, you have to make sure that you keep up with people who are interacting with you
True.
so that it's not just a one-way push, but people are coming to you as in a more of a pull strategy through your social media, digital marketing. And that's exactly what we do actually in She Leads India. This is exactly what we teach women.
That's so important. Like, how
Yes,
did you start your cake business? So what has been her story behind? Maybe she was a housewife,
yes,
then she came across some challenge, and then because of which she had to do something. So she was very good at baking, and then she started. So that's her story, right? If that story is shown or showcased online, it's going to be more touching for the customers to come.
yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. On the same page. Absolutely. Okay. And I think, to sum it all up, if I asked a question is the women who will lead the future are the women who what, and that's what these three things that you just said are going to be the be all and end all of success, and taking charge and grabbing the opportunities that are absolutely available
And
to everyone.
there are innumerable opportunities.
Innumerable.
That's why observation skills are so important to understand.
Yeah.
Where does the opportunity lie?
And we're not just talking about the cities, tier 2, tier 3, and so on and so forth,
And
Those are those untapped.
not only opportunities, Dipti, there are also now, we're talking about consumerism. So there are also consumers who are ready to buy. So
Yes.
you just have to be positive, you have to be optimistic, you just have to have a proper apt value proposition for your product or service, whatever you're building, and see that, it reaches to the right consumer segment. And consumers are there to buy. It's not like in
Yeah.
1980s or 1970s when you had to actually struggle to get a customer. But today,
Correct.
because of so many,
Yes.
of course, social media is there, but so many communication channels there. You reach out to these consumers, and you are
Yeah,
able
it's
to
exciting.
exactly. So there are consumers. There is people do have the purchasing power is there. We are.
Mm,
I always this is what I tell my students. You all are in an era where you're blessed that there are so many things which are positive around you.
yes. Yes, absolutely. It's
To be
very
an
much
entrepreneur,
exponential now.
yes. To be an entrepreneur, there's so many things which are
To
positive.
be yes, to be an entrepreneur specifically.
Yes.
And this is such a beautiful note to end on. Dr. Sharayu, thank you so much
Thank you so much. Thank
for
you so much.
sharing not
I
just
enjoyed sharing
your
my yes.
journey, but yeah, you enjoyed the podcast with me.
I have 100%. I enjoyed
Yes.
sharing my experience, and it's been really nice. I hope
Yes.
some small percentage of whatever I've shared is useful to the audience. Who's watching this.
Yeah, it's fully useful because, like, your wisdom, your insights, you've had so much experience, and it's just wonderful to tap that and help our women, any woman entrepreneur along her way.
And we are
And I
always
think,
there to help any women entrepreneur, Dipti. Whether it's me or whether it's my team of students, if anybody requires any help with respect to technology, networking,
wow,
so we'll be always there.
we shall definitely be connected
Sure.
as we go through this journey. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. Thank
And
you so much.
yeah, our listeners are really walking away with something incredibly valuable to start applying immediately. So,
Thank you
to
so much.
everyone listening,
Thank,
sorry,
thank you so much for this honor.
thank you for being here. It's our absolute pleasure to have you. And I was just going to say, like, for everyone listening, if this conversation has inspired you, please do share it with a woman who is sitting on an idea. Maybe you're not doing it, maybe somebody else is.
Sure.
Pass it along, because they may be dreaming about building that business or wondering if is even capable of taking that next step. Because innovation and entrepreneurship, it doesn't start with resources. We always think about big ideas and resources, but it starts with courage. So
Which
thank
is
you
why,
for
which
joining
is wonderful.
SHELeads India. Sorry, please say that again.
Yes, courage is one of the important quality, which an entrepreneur should
Yes.
have.
Yes, I think we touched upon it, but it's a really nice word to sum it all up. Yeah. Great. Thank you. And
Thank you so much.
until next time, keep learning, keep leading, and keep believing in the power of your ideas. Dr. Sharayu, good
Thank
night.
you so much.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Good night.
Yes, and good night, everyone.